On today's show, the San Diego Padres dropped their second straight series, getting obliterated and shut out by the Detroit Tigers. Talking about the bottom half of this offense again, which has been the story for so long. Talking about Kyle Hart and whether or not he might be actually showing some potential as being a back-end rotation guy. And because it's an off day, I'll give you guys a treat. Some early trade targets. Why not? Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Padres, your daily San Diego Padres podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Padres podcast, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for Thursday, April 24th. As always, I'm your host with sometimes occasionally, but certainly, and I mean certainly, not always the most, Javier Reyes. You can follow me on Twitter /X and Blue Sky at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO. Go do that. You'll be featured on the mailbag. That's right. You can reach out there. Also, leave comments in the YouTube section. I tend to read those every Sunday night. So if you're wondering why I don't respond immediately to those, it's usually Sunday night. And not to mention that's just, I don't know, because I get a lot of comments. So I like to comb through as like a Sunday night detox for whatever reason. But let me tell you, you know what will help you with detoxing in a certain sense? Our friends over at Game Time. Because when you're trying to go to a game, you're trying to get distracted, folks. Sometimes you might need it immediately. And tickets over at Game Time, they're really a big fan of that. They love lowering the prices before the game. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your purchase. Go check it out. Folks, today we got a game to recap, and then we're going to be talking about trade deadline targets. I know that's the sexy part of the episode. You guys are going to want that, and we will get to it soon, believe you me, because we've got some sleeper ones, we've got some interesting ones to keep an eye on, and then we've got like the big fish and what I think about kind of the not generic, but the general consensus guys that are going to be traded or at least looked at this deadline, to which there are a lot. So we'll be talking about that. But first, Padres lose yesterday's game by a score of 6-2 donut. Folks, they do not score a run. A really bad stretch of Padres offense over these past few days, right? Because on Tuesday, their only run scored was from a home run from Elias Diaz, kind of like the only big moment that the catching tandem between him and Maldonado have had, at least offensively, so far. Over the last couple weeks, we talked about this on yesterday's show. Diaz kind of, he started off a little bit okay, getting some singles. And in general, this offense, when it comes to the depth part of the offense, they started okay to begin the year. But that was a lot of timely hitting, clutch hitting, and then it's really gone by the wayside, right? On this road trip, the Padres went 6 for 41 with runners in scoring position. That's very, very bad. And a lot of it, I do really feel like can be chalked up to the fact that their lineup is built a certain way. This is a team that, if I had to guess, is probably constructed in a way that's more about run prevention, right? You've got two ace potential guys in Nick and Dylan Cease and Michael King that we already know about. And then you've got Nick Pivetta, who has been an ace for this team, right? He actually has the lowest ERA through the first 5 starts of your Padres career since, guess who? Joe Musgrove, a guy that I comped him to heading into the season. And then you've got, hopefully, Yu Darvish comes back. And then you're hoping from back-end guys, which we're going to talk about one of them in a second. And then a lights-out bullpen, and then an offense that has basically 3 stars, 2 of them being super-duper stars in Jackson Romero and Fernando Tatis Jr., and then one of them being just a star, in my opinion, at this point of his career. I don't know if he's the MVP version anymore, but he's still quite good in Mr. Manny Machado, right? That's a success for a playoff team. That absolutely can get you to the playoffs. But so far with the injuries and the fact that you're clearly seeing the lack of depth on this Padres team, and more importantly, their farm system, right? Like, they don't have a lot of guys. It says a lot that Tyler Wade has to play games. Now, don't get me wrong. That's because of Brandon Lockridge and Merrill being hurt. But even still, the fact that they don't feel great about the rest of their options in the farm does say that it just shows a lot about this team, and that they've made so many trades over the years that you're starting to see one of the issues. Now, granted, it's mostly a story of injury, so I'm not freaking out, but nonetheless, that is a pretty bad road trip for the Padres when it comes to the offense. Just watching them, right, it's not like they're getting particularly unlucky either, right? It's a lot of ground balls, a lot of weak contact. Oscar Gonzalez had a couple hits every now and then, but this is a team that also dramatically worse with runners on base versus in terms of slugging too, right? They're not hitting home runs with guys on base. A lot of Tatis's home runs are solo shots, right? A lot of Manny Machado's home runs are solo shots. They just have not been able to do it. Xander Bogaerts is not hitting for any power. He has one of the worst barrel rates in baseball, so he's hitting the ball harder than he usually has. It vacillates a little bit, but he's not putting it in the air, so that's really bad. So as a result, you're seeing problems with this offense, right? I will say they did get unlucky once. Tirso Ornelas still looking for his first hit as a Padre, so a lot of people are going to say, hey, what the heck, man? Hey, what's going on here? You know, you're killing our guys. You're not getting us any hits. We need you. Jason Hayward's out. Well, Tirso Ornelas actually had one of the unluckiest balls that the Padres have had all season, right? It was the fifth hardest hit ball of the entire day, 107.4 miles off the bat, and an expected batting average of 950. And it was projected to be a home run in 14 out of 30 ballparks. But who of all people, Javier Baez, makes a crazy Willie Mays type catch in center field. So Tirso robbed in this one. Not out on him yet. And in general, look, we talked about this before, it's possible that the bottom half of this lineup, that they can get one more guy. I don't know who it's going to be. We've already had one hit, and that's Gavin Sheets, right? But can they have one more of these guys be okay? Sure. But that doesn't address a lot of the problems that this team is still going to have when it comes to the depth of the offense over the course of the season. But I still think that Tirso deserves a little bit more time. Again, I just gave you the stat right there. Like, he got really unlucky on this shot. It happens, right? Oscar Gonzalez also had a hard hit ball. It didn't end up being a hit. But for the most part, it's been pretty miserable. Jose Iglesias, he got a single for them in this game. It's not great, but I really do think that you can chalk up a lot of this to just a lot of guys being hurt and the Padres just being on a really poor stretch right now. But again, give Tirso, out of everybody, give Tirso a little bit more time. I think he deserves it, right? He's finally getting called up. He's finally getting his chance. He hits a ball super well, and then it just ends up that Javier Baez, of all people, shortstop to center field, it's for some reason working for him, and he makes the catch. So can't really hate on him that much, but we'll see how it progresses over the course of these next couple weeks, because we don't know when Jackson Merrill and all these guys are going to be back, right? So we're going to have to see how that pans out. But let's talk about Kyle Hart as well. Kyle Hart in this game. Actually, wait, one more thing before I have to say this. I actually went on Jim Grease's postcast. I say that went on as if he's not also my channel. Everybody check out the postcast. He's doing a kick-ass job over here, just doing immediate reactions, kind of these 17-minute mini chunks, responding to your questions too, and whatnot. And he's getting familiar with the team. We're texting every day, talking about the Padres. And I actually went on the postcast yesterday, and I will be trying to go on more of those. So stay tuned for the Padres account. Go to the YouTube, and if you want, leave some comments right there. We'll just react, and we'll have some fun. We'll do players of the game, when the game changed, just giving you more free content. So, again, we're starting to incorporate that more. He might be on this show as well. Maybe I'll ask him some of your crazy mailbag questions every now and then. But we got to talk about Kyle Hart as well, because he actually had a pretty good game. And it feels like, while, yes, this game kind of ended, it feels like really early on, right? Because Tatis gets thrown out. If you guys remember, he gets thrown out trying to steal third. I didn't hate that steal attempt for what it's worth, only because it's not like Xander Bogaerts has shown any ability to drive in runs when the Padres desperately need them. He is awesome at getting singles and doubles when you don't need them and whatnot. So that's been annoying about him. But getting caught stealing there, third base, especially when there's two outs, I just kind of felt like, well, if there's only one out, I get it, because if you steal successfully, if Bogaerts just hit a pop-up over, then you might be able to score with Tatis. But otherwise, a little bit of an ill-advised attempt in my opinion. But nonetheless, we got to talk about Kyle Hart, guys. I keep teasing it. Let's talk about him in a second, because I actually thought that his start was a little bit better than maybe the box score made it out to be. And we'll talk about that in a second, guys. But first, a few words from our sponsors. And one of those sponsors, folks, is our friends over at The Fire. You might be wondering what I'm talking about, guys. Let me tell you, it is our friends over at Amazon, and particularly when it comes to the Amazon Fire TV. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub when Fire TV stick glass 4K devices. With Fire TV Stick 4K devices, no console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign in to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included. and you're ready to play. And included, you could dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25, which everybody likes joking and making memes about. We know everybody loves the college football. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed as easily as you stream your favorite TV shows as well. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. And also, endless entertainment with 4K streaming. Watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribed services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, Apple, and many, many more. It's really great. We love them very, very much, guys. Go check them out at amazon.com/FireTV. Locked on to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required, available on select devices including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. Go check it out though, guys. They are delivering the goods over at Amazon Fire TV. Check it out. And just like that, everybody, we are back here on the Locked On Padres podcast, thriving and most certainly vibing. Everybody, remember to go check me out at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO, on Twitter/X and Blue Sky, because this will be the last time I talk to you, or the last time I say that to you before I head into an abyss, because tomorrow's episode will be pre-recorded. I recorded it with Ulysses Sombrano and Kevin Weiss of the Locked On Rays podcast, so go check that out, guys. But let's talk about Kyle Hart. In this game, he actually looked okay. Is it okay that I say that? Right? Is it okay that I say that? Kyle Hart actually, it starts off really, really bad in this game, right? And we're all of a sudden, we're like, oh my God, this is going to be like that Cubs start, right? Or it's going to be like some of the other starts that he's had, frankly, right? Last game against Houston, 5 innings, but he gives up 10 hits, 5 earned runs. Not very good. But he starts off this game really, really poor. But I do think this is one of those situations where you have to look into kind of some other factors, right? He starts off in this game really, really poorly. Gleyber Torres hits a home run in the bottom of the first inning. And then we're like, oh God, this is it. The party is on for Detroit. They are going to absolutely destroy him. And we're going to have to use a Logan Gillespie for 7 innings and hopefully preserve the bullpen, which would have been really bad, even if it was a day off headed their way. But after allowing the Riley Gearing single, the Andy Ibanez single, the Spencer Torkelson walk, after that, Ruben Niebla made a little bit of a pitching mound visit. And all of a sudden, this man turned into Tom Glavine, folks. I don't know what happened, but ever since he visited the mound, he went 4 innings after that, struck out 6, and didn't walk anybody. He just gave up 1 more home run, unfortunately. But again, 1 more home run, that basically means he only made like 2 killer pitches that hurt him in this game. Justin Henry Malloy hammered one in the bottom of the 5th inning, and they pulled him kind of early, right? Maybe he could have gone further than that. He only threw, I think it was 70 pitches in this game. So like, keep that in mind, right? Like, he actually showed a little bit of potential. And what I like about him the most is that sweeper might be a legitimate pitch. He generated 5 whiffs on it on 15 swings. Opponents weren't really able to hit it all that well. Same thing goes for the sinker as well, and the changeup. The problem with Mr. Kyle Hart is that the more straightforward stuff, the 4-seam fastball, he can't really rely on all that much, right? The velocity especially is not all that there, right? He's just not getting enough break either. It's just not his go-to. But I think the sweeper is a legitimate pitch. So if he can figure that out, and one of the things that we saw about Kyle Hart early on is he's still figuring out that pitch mix. And I think that Ruben Niebla really is one of the best coaches in Major League Baseball. I think that I got to talk to my guy, Jeff Ellis of Locked On Guardians. Like, I got to talk to him more and just be like, how did this happen? We actually haven't talked about this enough. Really quickly, before we end up talking about the trade targets, we have not talked enough about how the Padres landed Ruben Niebla. Right? Like I said, ever since visiting the mound, 4 innings, strikes out 6, he just gives up 1 more solo shot. After what looked like it was going to be a disastrous first inning, Niebla just knows his stuff. Whether it be making good pitchers better than they were before, right? Blake Snell falling apart. Ruben Niebla comes in. He wins the Cy Young. Dylan Cease, lowest walk rate of his career last year. It's just the bullpen as currently constructed. Nick Pivetta having 3 starts where he's gone 7 innings and allowed 0 earned runs. Ruben Niebla did stuff like this in Cleveland. And I'm genuinely wondering, how did they lose him? Did the Padres offer him a lot? Did he just say, you know what, I like that organization and where it's heading, right? It's on the rise. Do I like that better? Because if I'm Cleveland, I'm like, how did we let this guy go? Ruben Niebla, the sage master that he is, cannot be more happy that he's on this team. I think that we can hope that he's going to make some of these pitchers a little bit better. And I'm hopeful that after this Kyle Hart start, that we may be looking at a guy who could be a good 5. He can eat a little bit innings for you. And I think, unlike Randy Vasquez, he actually has a little bit of a put-away pitch. I think that he can get some strikeouts with that sweeper. Like I mentioned before, like he actually really tuned some guys up in this game. It was really beautiful at points. Like genuinely, I know that this sounds crazy, but 6 Ks for Kyle Hart, he looked all right, like with that pitch. So maybe we're looking at a guy that he's not going to, win playoff games or anything like that, but he's going to help you get through the season until you get some reinforcements, whether it be Steven Kolek, whether it be, maybe Matt Waldron at the end of the season. I know he's on the 60-day IL, but you get my point. Whether, Yu Darvish when he finally comes back, or if they trade for someone at the deadline, which we'll talk about in a second. I think that I'm a little bit optimistic. I really am. And remember, I'm optimistic that he can be a 5 and a low-end 4. And I know that that's not all that much to you on the surface level, but it is, because we already look like we've got 3 really exciting starters at the top of this rotation. And then you've got Yu Darvish, potentially, who, if you need someone in a playoff game, Yu Darvish has more than not, come through. And he could also help you get through the regular season at a pretty decent rate as well, assuming he is healthy. We're hoping that he comes back soon. I've heard some decent things about it. I can't wait. I can't wait until Yu Darvish is back. So an encouraging start for Kyle Hart, considering that he's been a little bit of tale of two cities, either pretty okay and gives up nothing or gets absolutely blown up. And this start, a little bit in between, where he calmed down, settled in. He's coming back to Major League Baseball. That has to be a factor of this too. Right, since 2020, coming back after 5 years like that, and he did pretty okay. But folks, that's enough of yesterday's game. Let's talk about some trade targets, folks. And I know that it's way too obnoxiously early for this, right? But I just figured, why not? Let's have a little bit of fun on this show, because I think that this was a really depressing end for this Padres road trip. Not great. And they face Tampa next. And Tampa, while, don't get me wrong, I don't think that they're a contending team this year, they've had some pretty good starting pitching performances for their team so far. Shane Baz looking like a stud, and that's who the Padres are going to face. So people might be like, oh no, our bad offense is only going to continue. Are you kidding me? And on top of that, they've had some breakout candidates as well on the offensive side of the ball. So this is not going to be an easy series by any stretch. Right? I'm really curious to see how it goes. But let me tell you, can't wait for that. And also, if you want more on the Rays, going to be talking with Kevin Weiss and Ulysses Sombrano. Locked On Rays crossover coming to you Friday. So look forward to that, guys. But let's talk about some of them trade candidates. There's a bunch. First of all, I want to talk about in terms of just the general lineup. I did see that Luis Campusano wasn't starting in El Paso the other day. Tim LeCastro replaced him as the DH. This could either mean that they're calling him up and saying, you know what, Maldonado, we love you, but we need some more hitting, or whatever. Maybe they want to give him some more starts. Maybe they want to try him out at DH because he has not been a good catcher whatsoever on defensive side throughout his career. So maybe we're going to see a little bit of a, maybe we might need to change positions for this guy. We'll see. Maybe as a DH he can be okay. Or maybe a trade isn't coming. That's just wanted to throw that out, guys. So there's a bunch of popular ones. In my opinion, the most popular ones that you're going to hear about the most are Sandy Alcantara and Luis Robert. Those are the 2 guys that as of right now, you are going to hear nonstop. I did a video about Sandy Alcantara, so I won't repeat my thoughts too much, but he had a pretty good start yesterday. 6 innings, 3 earned runs. He looked a little bit better than usual. He's an innings eater, and if he was brought on this Padres team, he's not the type of pitcher that even if he is past his prime, or even if he's still recovering from injury, he doesn't need to be ace Cy Young version Sandy, right? Because this team has, just like I just spent the last segment talking about, a lot of pitching options that you can use in playoffs, and it can be pretty good, right? So Sandy as your 4 or even 3, however you want to phrase him, that would be electric for this team. But even with him having a down season, even with some of his advanced metrics so far, I still think that he's going to cost a lot. And I'm not ready to give up too much right now. I think you have to give up Ethan Salas for him. I really do think that you'd have to do that. Now, it's not a guarantee, but I will say new Marlins management, I should say, has shown some really clever moves lately. There's been some vibes that you know what? They might have a guy in there that knows what he's doing. He's not going to be a superstar GM, right? But he might know what he's doing. And that tells me you might not be able to swindle the Marlins on this one. But we'll have to see, because one thing that happens every trade deadline, I've been saying this for years, guys very often do not go for the trade package that fans, media, analysis, analytics folks, the nerds claim that they should go for, right? This is what should cost for Sandy Alcantara. This is what this team has to give up, right? It's because sometimes it's under. Right? Everybody thought probably that the Dodgers were going to have to give up every top prospect in the game for Trey Turner, Max Scherzer. Turns out that they didn't really give up anything, right? Although Keibert Ruiz is actually like playing well this year. But for the most part, that's what happens, right? Except for the Padres with Juan Soto, these things can be overstated or understated how much it's going to cost to get guys. So we'll still have to see. But Sandy, I think the name is too big. The name is too big, and I think a lot of teams are going to be after him. And frankly, a lot of teams that are going to need someone with really high upside, like the Cubs, as I said in my short that's on the channel, like that's a team that needs a number 2, type of starter, right? Or a number 1 quality starter. While the Padres just need someone who's going to get them through the season in a lot of ways. So I think other teams are going to be more desperate, but you never know with AJ Preller. He is indeed a madman. But Sandy's not the only one we're going to be talking about. We're trading stuff, guys. No. We're going to talk about some more guys very quickly in this last segment. But first, one more word from our sponsors. And folks, that one more word is going to the legends that you heard at the top of this podcast. Do you know who it is? It is our friends over at Game Time, because there's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. I know that I'll be catching some games soon too. Yeah, I've been a little bit of a hermit early on this season. I haven't been going out too much, but I will soon. Best believe that. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, the whatever happens at Petco Park. Can't wait to see it. If you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes the tickets and the decisions easier than ever with last minute deals, all-in pricing, and a lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the stress out of buying MLB tickets. Plus, ticket prices actually drop as Game Time gets closer, meaning you can score an incredible deal. It's the official ticketing partner of Locked On, and as the Padres are coming up against the Rays, I'm telling you, you can get some tickets to those games, man. I'm telling you, it's really good. And for me, when I go and check out Seattle, oh, you bet your bottom dollar I'll be checking out our friends over at Game Time, guys, with spontaneous game nights, whether it's good for that, the Game Time Picks feature, which filters out the fluff and highlights the top discounts in the stadium, and you can even view the seats before you buy. Just get a little picture, get a little image for you before you buy those tickets, guys. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed with Game Time. And just like that, everybody, we are back here thriving and most certainly vibing here on Locked On Padres. Remember, one more time, check me out at Javipeno, JAVIIPENO, or at @L_Padres if you want updates on the show. But Javipeno, Twitter, /X, and Blue Sky. Some more trade candidates that are going to be discussed a lot, I feel, this season. Tyler Anderson is another one. And by the way, fun fact, for the long-time listeners, if I have any of those, right, and if I do, shout out to you if you've been listening for a while. Tyler Anderson is a guy that I've been talking about for a few years, and he's having a really good start to the season so far. I don't think it's going to keep up, but you're going to hear his name around because it's the Angels, and in my opinion, the Angels are not going to stay on the certain track that they are right now, but he is the type of guy that is just going to be useful to do what? Get you through the season. Since 2021, he has not thrown any less than 141 innings. He's consistent. He's not going to do anything amazing, right? He's got a little bit too high of a walk rate for that, but 2.08 ERA on the season so far, an expected ERA of 3.28. I don't think it's going to continue this way. I think he's going to get hit a lot harder. He doesn't produce a ground ball rate that's conducive to maintain this ERA. But if you just need someone who needs to fill innings, if it gets that bad, I think Tyler Anderson could be okay. And I don't know if it's going to cost too much. So that's a name to keep an eye on, right? Andrew Heaney, kind of another one of those players. And frankly, Andrew Heaney, I have noticed before, a little bit of some confidence issues, right? He's not always going out there being at the tip top of his shape. What's the word? The tip top shape, I should say. But let me tell you, he's had a couple of years of being useful before. In fact, last year, he's kind of the peak of what we needed. Low fours ERA, 4.28. He'll get you a strikeout every now and then. He doesn't walk too many batters. And what I really like about him is that I think that there's a little bit of room to improve. So far this year, he's actually producing a 43.9% ground ball rate, which is pretty solid, 2.13 ERA, and his expected stats aren't too bad. So we'll see. I don't think he's going to keep up this level of a ground ball rate, but he's the type of guy out of Pittsburgh that could make this rotation really, really good, right? And I think that this is the type of thing where, because of the strength of the top three, I know that Cease hasn't done it just yet, guys, but I really do think he's going to be fine. I think. Yeah, he'll be fine. Yeah, right? He'll be fine, right? Yeah, he'll be fine. I think that this would be the type of trade that, unless Randy Vasquez and Kyle Hart get obliterated in both of their next starts and they get a bad update on Yu Darvish, I don't think you'd see an early, like, or trade deadline type of acquisition for a pitcher necessarily, like, happen right now, right? Unless those guys are really terrible. So AJ Preller's probably going to give the leash a little bit longer for some of these guys, not to mention some in-house options like Stephen Kolek and Brian Hoeing when he's healthy. But overall, I do think Andrew Heaney's actually like one of my favorite targets because I actually think Niebla might be able to make this guy better. I don't know. Now I'm just going off vibes. I've always felt like he's got a little bit more in there. Just a little bit more that can help out. But bottom line is, even if he doesn't, he could be a guy that comes in and helps the Padres out. Maybe this year's Martin Perez, right? Then you've got another pitcher out there. German Marquez. I know, I'm just kidding, guys. But that would be really fun if we traded with the Rockies. He's always been good away. Petco Park is a pitcher's park, and he's entering unrestricted free agency. It's not going to happen because it's in division, but that's a pitcher that, like, just if you want to show off to your nerd friends, that's the type of pitcher that, like, if your pitching staff is all right and you just need someone to fill innings, maybe like the Royals, if they ever find themselves in that situation, the Tigers, he's the type of guy I'd trade for. Why not? Just half a season. He's not going to cost much. The Rockies don't know what they're doing anyway. They gave up a decent batter in Nolan Jones for no reason before the season started for basically nothing. So you never know with the Rockies. Andrew McCutchen, also from Pittsburgh Pirates. I actually think that this guy makes perfect sense to be traded, but I sense the Pirates won't do it because they're like, he's a fan favorite. He's our guy. So I don't see it. But I will say he is a guy that hits lefties pretty well. And if you wanted to put him on the other side of the DH with Gavin Sheets, I could see it. I actually think that he's probably a better overall option because he hits both really well. And maybe the Padres are going to say, you know what? We just need a guy that's going to play a little bit and hit against lefties instead of just an everyday sort of DH that McCutchen kind of is. So maybe that's a little bit out of our price range. Not that they can't afford a player like McCutchen. I don't think that they can't. But I just think that they're like, you know what? You know, we're happy with Gavin. Unless Gavin falls off a cliff, I don't see Andrew McCutchen, but I see him being a name that might arise in the coming months. Luis Robert. Luis Robert is kind of fascinating as a trade target because the Padres have reportedly been interested. They've been talking to the White Sox for sure. They talked to them about Garrett Crochet. I assume that they basically asked for Salas and DeVries, right? Like, that's probably why they didn't do it. And Garrett Crochet is awesome. Like, that guy might win the Cy Young this year, at least in my opinion. We'll have to see. I think that Robert's fascinating because he has been a highly regarded, very talented player in Major League Baseball for a long time. And he produced it early on, right? His first year, he had 11 home runs in just 56 games. His second year, 13 home runs in 68 games. And then the year after that, 12 home runs in 98 games. Like, he always teased everybody. 155 WRC plus his second season. The fact that he produced 3.5 wins above replacement his second season in just 68 games just gives you an idea of the freakish potential this guy had. Then he slowed down a bit, didn't really figure it out. Then in 2023, put it all together, 4.9 win player. He hit 38 home runs, stole 20 bags, played some okay defense, 128 WRC plus. The talent is there. But for the past 2 years, he's been really bad. 84 WRC plus last year, only 0.5 wins above replacement. And this year, 55 WRC plus. He's in the negative right now. And he's on a bad team. So that's one of the reasons some people are like, no, he's got to be better than this, right? He's just on a bad team and he wants out. But that doesn't usually happen in baseball. So he's fascinating because he's not playing well. But I think everybody, and probably including the White Sox, are like, no, we don't care if he's not playing well. We're not selling him on the low end. But they might not have a choice if he keeps performing like this. So there's an outside chance the Padres could flirt with it, right? Because that contract is pretty okay, right? But it ends after this year, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like, that's the thing. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent, so how much more? Let me see, actually. Is he an unrestricted free agent? I thought he signed a deal, like, early on, didn't he? Am I crazy? Am I going insane? No. Okay, so he's got club options after this year for $20 million. Okay, I was about to say, I thought I was going insane. But, you know, the years of control, then that makes it that he's still going to cost a lot. So I don't think the Padres do this. He would be the left fielder. It would be really exciting, frankly, having that type of talent on this team. And I think that he's probably the player that you will hear the Padres attached to, because they've been attached to him, I'm pretty sure, before, and they've been attached to the White Sox before. But I will tell you, I am against trading from the farm because I just don't think you need to do it with this team. I really don't. But if they did, I like it because of the years of control, and I really do truly believe he'd be better in another team. I do. But in terms of some other players that I think I want to focus on, last couple guys that are more in the Padres price range if they decide to go on the low end of things, which they literally never do. I've been doing this podcast for like 6 seasons now, and they never go on the low end. But Ryan Mountcastle and Jesus Sanchez are two guys that I'm interested in. Ryan Mountcastle, he hits mostly left field. Petco Park might be a little bit better for right-handed batters that pull the ball more. Here's the thing, Ryan Mountcastle, not a guy who tends to pull the ball into the air all that much. But I will say this year, he's been doing it more. It's the highest of his career, 22%. Granted, not a huge sample size so far. Keep an eye on it, though, because he's pulling the ball a little bit more to left field. And I think that might be more conducive to power and Petco. And frankly, I just think that, you know, he can play first base. He can play the outfield, so you get some utility there if you're so worried about that, which they have been, as evidenced by Yuli Gurriel playing on this team a whole bunch of appearances and what have you. I think this be a buy low, and yes, he strikes out a lot. He swings and misses a lot. But this whole Padres lineup has guys that don't do that. They have guys to make up for that. They have guys that are low strikeout guys. Luis Arraez, Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, Jackson Merrill, Jose Iglesias, right? The bottom lineup of this team as well. I think that Xander Bogaerts even. I think they can afford to have a bat on this team who hits against lefties, and he hits against them well, by the way. And yeah, he's going to strike out a lot, but he might put like 25 home runs, right? Like, that's not impossible. He's hit for a lot of power before. And I think the Orioles are going to be bad this year. Grayson Rodriguez isn't coming back. All their pitchers are getting lit up because they didn't spend any money on any. We'll see if the fan base is like, hey, you got to trade for someone, if they feel that pressure in management to trade for a starting pitcher and still be on the buying end of things, even though they're underperforming right now. But I'm making a projection that they won't be. So Ryan Mountcastle, maybe he works for this team, maybe he doesn't, but he's an idea. Then the next one, Jesus Sanchez, can absolutely play left field. He's a lefty. He's actually got a 380 expected WOBA compared to just a 320 WOBA right now, suggesting that he's getting a little bit unlucky, and he's had a 100 WRC plus at the least over the past couple seasons and plays good defense. What would be really great for the Padres if they just had a steady left fielder? He's drawing a decent amount of walks, right? He's just getting on base. That would do wonders for this team, and I don't think he's going to cost too much, unlike a Sandy, who's probably going to cost a lot, not to mention what he means to that fan base and that city, right? I do think he's going to cost more. Jesus Sanchez could be an option for this team, and I don't think that he's going to cost too much. So those are two guys that I'm just keeping. Again, this is way too early, guys. The pulled fly ball stat on Ryan Mountcastle, way too early, but I'm just looking into what we have so far. In full playing time, I think that these guys could make a difference for this team. Mountcastle as the other side of the platoon, and Jesus Sanchez potentially as the starting left fielder. I don't think that's that bad. I don't. But I imagine we're going to hear about Luis Robert. I think Preller might be like, screw it, I'm going for it. I really think he might do it. We'll see, because that man is not scared of anything. But way too early. This is just for fun for you guys to enjoy. Just some guys to keep an eye out. And I imagine that more batters. Luis Garcia. He's a lefty if they just want to have a lefty. Out of Washington, that team's not going to be contending this year. Maybe he's a player that the Padres might go for. Doesn't hit against lefties well, but he is at least a lefty bat if they're going to care that much about the lineup construction side of things when it comes to that. So we'll have to see overall. But with that all being said, guys, that about does it for today's edition of the Locked On Padres podcast, the only pod that may be better than the Padres themselves. Remember to subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from. Be sure to stay tuned to Jim's post-game recaps. We'll be doing one on Friday, also over the weekend, so stay tuned for that. And then Friday's episode with Locked On Rays. But until that next time, stay safe and, of course, stay faithful. My Friar Faithful homies, take care.